Okay, we're on.
Okay. Hello. Welcome. Just kidding.
Welcome
All of a
to
sudden,
my
my demeanor
podcast.
shift. Let's get real.
Just your whole demeanor
Yeah.
changes.
Let's get real
Just
now.
up.
That's enough. Just
Okay,
kidding.
well, I guess just introduce yourself first.
Okay. My name is Mimosa. I make music. My government name is Julia Gonzalez. Yeah, I'm a musician. I sing. I make beats. I rap. I was a poet for a really long time. I've been kind of moving away from poetry, spoken word as much and putting that more into hip hop. Yeah, I kind of like to do everything creative. I like to draw. I've been working on learning how to animate. I want to make a cartoon, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. So, and I'm like a person that I just like to follow things down the rabbit hole and just see where it takes me. So yeah. That's me. I'm a mom. Yeah.
Are you from here?
Yeah, from Saskatoon.
Your whole life?
Yeah,
Born,
unfortunately.
raised? Oh.
Every time it gets cold, I'm like, "God, gotta get out of here."
Do you want to get out of here?
Yeah, I do. There's good people here, but I the cold gets me, man. I can't do it anymore, I don't think.
Where would you go?
I went to Europe in August. I got, like, a grant to go, and I had a little residency there for, like, a week, and I was like, "This is sweet." Like, we were in Germany, and there's this place we went, it didn't even have, like, any homeless people. They take care of all their people there, and I was like, "Holy shit." Because I would like to go somewhere and, like, see it how things are different and then, like, bring it back, you know,
Yeah.
to teach. Because 'cause I'm like, "There's people doing these things that we're struggling with so hard, like, why can't we make it work for" especially in a place this cold, like, the
Right.
fact that there's people on the street is fucked. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I'm like I was really fascinated, and we got to meet the mayor of that city, so I was just, like, grilling him with questions. I'm like, "How are you doing this? What do you guys" and, his English was, like, okay, but I'm like, "Man, I wish I could have just, like, spent more time, like, getting the actual, like, the nitty-gritty of, like, how they run their system," but, like, they just help people, and if
Yeah.
people are struggling, they set them up with everything they need, so I was like, "Damn," like, that was a culture shock that I'm like, "Oh, you guys actually give a shit about people here, it's not just, like, trying to nickel and dime you," and, it was a really weird difference, but I think I would like to go to Europe one day at some point, somewhere. There's so many beautiful places that I'm like, that would and, like, school is free. You can just go to university. That's crazy.
Everywhere in Europe?
Well, in Germany for sure, but I'm sure a lot of places you can go,
I think
um
that's good. I think that's how it should be.
of course.
Yeah.
They use it as, like, a debt business here.
Right.
So I was like, "That's"
Right. Yeah.
and think about all of these people in communities that's a barrier is, like, the cost, and those people need to get in this workforce so there's representation and they're not paying
Mm,
for you to go in. Like, some people, yeah, like, through the bans and stuff like that, but it's like, I don't know, it just like, their healthcare is free, their school's free, like, and people just it just, like, thrives because
right.
of it? So it's like, I don't know, I think everybody's priorities here are kinda backwards, but that's what
I think we're
happens.
very individualistic
Yeah.
and we're not very community based.
Yes. I've been thinking about that a lot because it's like, I was telling you about this ayahuasca ceremony, and, one of the things I was in that ceremony, I was kind of shown some things I was supposed to share in, like, a format like this, like, to share with people, and one of the biggest things was around, um, like, community and how community takes a lot of, like, work, like, individual work on yourself, so you're showing up as a good person, and then also the work of, like, supporting people as they grow and, like, having patience with people as they learn. Because like, right now, all of our communities are very fractured and, like, men are over here and women are over here
Mm,
and queer people over here, and there's a lot of, like, anger and misunderstanding and all of this stuff, and it's like, if you were to actually sit down in a circle with people and listen to their stories and witness them without judgment,
right.
that's how you actually, like, build communities, but people don't wanna, like, listen, and everybody just wants to be heard, but you can't have both. You have to be a listener, and you have to also speak, and I was just shown that so clearly where it's like people need to just be witnessed right now without, like, trying to fix or change anything and just be like, "Hey, this is where I'm at." And, like, because we all need to just, like, exist, as, like, who we are without sometimes you don't want people trying to you
Right.
know? And I realized that in that ceremony because there was a point where I realized, like, when there's a lot of generational trauma in families, the mother doesn't get witnessed in her pain and in her struggle, and then she has kids, and then she's just trying to survive, and then those kids don't get witnessed in their struggle, and then those kids have kids, and I saw, like, in my own family how that kept happening and happening, and then I saw with my own daughter how that was starting to happen of, like, I was so hard just trying to survive, and then I was like, "Oh shit, I'm not paying enough attention to these things I need to be like, looking at with her and, like, making sure that she feels seen and, like, making space for her to, like, feel and be, like, held and then, yeah, that's the part of the ceremony that I was, like, throwing up, right? Because all of that stuff, like, came out, and I was just like, "Damn," like, our communities through these traumas get so messy, and it is hard because a lot of us have a hard time when you start doing the healing and people aren't doing that around you, it's really hard to, like, be in a circle that doesn't wanna hear the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, have you felt that, like, in your own life where, like, people when you start taking new steps or trying to grow as a person, is there people who ever try to, like
Pull you down.
yeah, or, like, make these little comments or say
Yeah.
these things, like
So I think like what I see is like here, like people have like the mentality of I'm good and you're bad.
yeah,
Like I'm good, you're evil.
mhm.
And that's like everyone, like men versus women, women
Yes.
versus
Yes.
men, you know, like you straight versus queer,
Yeah,
right versus left,
exactly.
white versus brown. It's like we're good, you're evil. And I think everyone's good.
Yes,
I think
yes.
99% of people are good.
They're just
And there's 1% of people who are like shit disturbers, you
yeah.
know? But like even them, I don't think they're bad. I think they're just living through their trauma, you know?
Yes,
Like
they're lost.
it's like whatever, name the politician. He's not an asshole. He was born in an environment where he had to be an asshole to survive,
Yeah,
and that's who he became.
yes. Exactly.
So it's like,
Yes.
and I think it's hard to be. Oh, like just awareness is hard, you know, and understanding what other people are going through is hard. So then, with all of that, that's kind of like where we're at now.
Yes. So this is what came through in that ceremony. There was a moment because you're sitting in ceremony with people you don't know. And I remember going into this ceremony and I could feel from some people I'm like, "Oh, I feel like when we go into this ceremony our energy is going to like because there was something that in them triggered me so bad." I just as soon as I saw them I was like, "Oh no."
Mm,
And there was a point of the ceremony where I was laying there and I saw this, like, entity, like, coming towards me, this, like, ugly thing, and I was fucking scared. I was like, "Holy shit!" Because like, this ceremony I've sat in ceremony before with the ayahuasca. This time it was like it gave me a licking. Like,
mm.
but, like, in a really good way. Like, it was like, because you fast and you set your intentions beforehand, and I take that kinda thing really seriously, and part of what I wanted to heal in this ceremony was like this codependency I had like with relationships and people where it was like just giving too much and people taking and it's not love, it was something else. This it was like a sick like I was like always attracting addicts and people that always like friends and men and things like that were like and I was trying to heal them all the time, right? And so I saw this thing crawling towards me, and it's like it wasn't like a literal thing, but I could feel it, and it was like, "Heal me, help me, I need you to heal me, I need you to help me," and I was like, "I can't do that." And
He was talking to you.
yeah, and I was like and it was coming from someone else in the circle who their energy was the one that I was like, "Oh no, like this." And it was like and it's funny because every time I sit in ceremony, there's someone who reminds me of my dad, and me and my dad have, like, a very complicated, like, relationship, and so it's funny how even in a setting where you come with the intention to heal, there's gonna be things that trigger you, There's gonna be things that, like, push on your spots that are, like, wounded, and so
Mm.
this thing came to me, and I part of what I needed to do in that ceremony was just say no to this thing, because when I tuned into it and what it wanted, it's like this energy doesn't really want to heal. It wants to, like, bring you to that level so it can feel, like, understood and seen, but it doesn't believe it can get to that level where you're sitting at, and so it wants to, like, bring you down there. And so in that ceremony at the time, I was so scared. I didn't know what that thing was. It was scary. The energy felt like it was trying to, like, it wanted to, like, destroy me, like, in this way, and I was like, "Oh my god," it was so intense. And then after I sat with that for, like, a week or 2, and I was like, "Oh, that was, like, the codependent spirit." But something that, like, to go back to what we're talking about is, like, when you are in a community where there's so much pain and, like, people it's I don't think it's possible to be a human being on earth right now and not have, like, trauma, because 'cause we're all disconnected from, like, the land, from community, like, that's trauma, right? And so people right now wanna be witnessed in their pain, but it's almost become like a contest of, like, "I went through this, and I went through that, and you don't understand me, and this, and this, and this," and then other and it's, like, become this thing where it's, like, and I get it because people wanna be seen, but that's what's causing these huge divides, like, even, like, men and women came through huge for me in this ceremony where it was like, because I was, like, I'm a queer woman, so I always felt like I was in between these worlds where my friends were always, like, men and boys, and, like, that was my people, and, like, I saw them, and I saw them their insecurities, and I saw their vulnerabilities, and I saw a side to them that I don't know if, like, many other people would see out in the world, and, like, I've seen them cry, and I've like, like, and they've seen me cry, and so I feel really sad right now because, like, there's not really good role models of, like, leadership, of, like, heart leadership, of, like, people who are strong, but they're coming with compassion and, like, empathy, but part of leadership is, acknowledging everybody's story and not trying to, like, elevate one above the other, you know?
Mm.
And so and that's something I think we need to move away from as a culture, is, like, this hierarchy of stuff. Like, this politician, we vote for them and then we're all saved, or then we're all screwed. It's like, that shouldn't be able to determine
Right.
you should always be empowered first, and then your leadership reflects that. If
Mm.
you're always, like, crawling around on your hands and knees being like, "Save us, help us," you know what I mean? Then that's never gonna be a healthy relationship to power because you're always putting it outside of yourself, you know?
Right.
And that's something that was huge where I'm like, I was kinda shown that I needed to talk about this to people because it's like, in order for us to get out of all of these problems that we're having in the world, we have to be willing to, like, take responsibility for ourselves, and then that's the only way to have, like, good community, is when everybody's, like, pulling their own weight, and the reason our communities are so fractured is because some people are willing to take on everyone's shit when they shouldn't be, and then that gets really heavy, and then some people never wanna be the one to have to, like, own up to the things that they're doing, and then they get to just walk around fucking everyone over, and then you have a few people always trying to, protect them
Yeah.
from the consequences of their own actions, and I think that that's the core of what we're struggling against. It's not, these evil politicians, and it's not technology, it's, like, our own selves and our own shadow and, like, our lack of responsibility for our own shit, you know? Because even in my own life, I had to look and be like, "Oh, all of these situations that could have destroyed me, I put myself into them because I wanted love and I wanted
Mm.
validation and I wanted all these things." And now, um, since I sat in that ceremony, I've been realizing the situations. I can feel these things that are trying to pull me back into these ways of relating to people. And it's like, you can't do that anymore if you want to have a different life, if you want to have a better life than your family, And like, I love my family, but it's like, I can see where
Right.
the fractures happened of people's, like, hearts and their minds, and it's like, I can see where people just get trapped in these, like, cycles because they're still waiting for an apology that's never gonna come, you know? And, like, forgiveness, I don't know. Do you have a hard time forgiving people?
No,
No?
not at all.
Okay. How do you do it? Like
I I just how do I do it? There's just in my mind, there's nothing anybody could do to me to hurt me.
mm,
So, because even like I like what you said about like taking responsibility, right? Like I put myself in that situation.
mhm,
I did that because that's how I think of everything. Because even when I think of politics, when I think of left, right,
mhm.
I I don't. It doesn't really matter to me who gets elected.
Yes,
I'll figure it out.
that's how I
Like
feel.
I'm a competent person. I've gone through a lot of things. I've got through it. Got came out on the other side. There's nothing that has like destroyed me.
Mhm,
So like I'm clearly competent.
mhm,
Like I can handle things. I can figure things out. I can problem solve. And whether we're in a socialist economy, a communist economy, a capitalistic economy, whatever the economy happens to be, I'm gonna be fine. I
mhm.
already know that. So when it comes to people coming at me or being mean to me or like trying to take things from me, I've been fortunate enough to put myself in a position where I kind of have, an overflow of resources,
Mhm,
like I'm not talking like financially, I'm
mhm,
talking mentally, emotionally. So if somebody steals from me, if somebody is mad at me, like I'm good. Like
mhm.
it doesn't actually do anything to me.
Yeah,
Like they can steal from me. They can do these things to me and it's not going to change my life anywhere. Like my life is good.
yeah.
Like I have family, I have my kids, I have my wife, I have my passions like boxing, like I have all these things I'm doing and like what are they doing that's actually like
Taking from
damaging
you?
me?
Yeah,
Nothing. It's not actually significant enough to like leave an imprint on me. And when people are doing things to me, usually I feel sorry for them because like they must not love themselves. They're
exactly.
going through something to make them act that way,
Yes.
and that sucks.
It is, and it's sad.
It's sad.
But do you think, like, because this is some like I told you, I've been deep diving UFC and Khabib content, and I'm like, do you think fighting has given you that mentality, though? Because I've noticed, like, you have to be a certain type of person to but it's funny because you still get some big egos in there that I'm like, "How have you made it
Yeah.
this far and not been humbled?" And then it comes, but it's like someone like Khabib where it's like you grew up that was your whole life, just discipline. And like
Yeah.
you can't make excuses because he's basically like, if you want to be the champion, you gotta do these steps to be the champion. So he's like, when people come train with me, it's like, if you don't want to be the champion, then don't complain, just leave. Like,
Yeah.
where it's almost like it's up to you what you want. Do you think like fighting, does that shape like how did you get into fighting? Was it because you were already like that, or did that come from like from the sport?
I it's because like I'm like we're kind of just meeting each other,
Yeah.
and I'm very since like as long as I can remember, I'm very unemotional.
Okay.
Like I'm very uh it's like I can disconnect from things quickly
Mm.
and I can move on quickly. And I've always been like that ever since I can remember. It's like I've never held grudges. I've never gotten overwhelmed. I've never gotten anxiety. I've never been depressed. I've never been like
What are you, a Sagittarius?
Aquarius.
I was gonna guess that too. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So like and it's like I can move on very like even like when I think about crying, like I can count on one hand how many times I've cried in my life.
Really?
It's just like never do I ever feel like I need to be crying.
Hmm,
It's like I can see it coming. Like I knew that was gonna happen.
mm,
It's like I can prepare for things. But like and then being mad, like I can't name somebody I'm mad at.
okay.
Like I can't name somebody that's like done something to me where it's like that guy. or that girl, it's over. I'm never talking to them again. Like, it's just
Interesting.
like there's nobody that can hurt me. I
Okay.
don't feel.
Okay.
But then but it's never anything I remember practicing. I
Okay.
remember being like that in high school. I remember being at jobs and people like things are breaking down and people are getting mad and they're like swearing. And I'm just thinking like, why do you care so much? You
Yeah.
know? And like honestly, this came up in so I've been with my wife since we're 15. So
Okay.
19 years this year.
Holy shit.
But I remember some of the first cause like even jealousy, never.
Mm.
Never like I need to look at your phone. I don't care who she's texting. Like
Yeah.
I trust her.
Yeah.
When she tells me she's not texting anyone, she's not texting anyone. Like
Mhm.
her word is her word.
Yeah.
Like, but I remember like conversations we had where she thought I didn't love her because I didn't get jealous.
Mhm. Yeah.
So like since I was like when I used to think I was a psychopath.
Mhm.
'Cause I don't know, I feel things the same way people feel
Yeah.
things. Like I'm not getting mad because things are like not working. I'm never like flipping out. I'm
Mm.
never and I used to think like, am I like a psycho?
No, sometimes I think it's just, like, you can take yourself out of the thing. Like, I always called it, like, being behind the glass. Like, I always felt like I was experiencing life almost, like, as a spectator sometimes where, like yeah, like, at jobs or different places where it was, like, people are, like, trying to get this little bit of power and move up, and I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like, why
Yeah.
do you care? Like, that's crazy that that's, like, your goal right now." But I'm like and I've seen it and, like but I'm very emotional, though. Like, I'm the opposite where I'm like,
Mm.
I can probably name 3 times I cried today. Like, but that keeps
Yeah.
my spirit clean
Yeah,
because
it's
I
not a bad thing
no,
at
and I
all.
pick up shit from other people, and I didn't realize that until the first time I sat in ayahuasca ceremony, uh, and I probably cried like 6 buckets of tears, and they none of them were my tears. It was like I was seeing the faces of, like, all my family members, all the stuff I took on for them, and it was like it needed to, like, come out, and so I realized and, like, I do energy healing with people, I do Reiki, I do, like, shamanic healing and everything, so it's like I've learned that now I'm like, "Oh, a lot of these things I used to feel when I was young weren't even mine." I was very sensitive to other people. I would feel people's anger. I would feel people's sadness and pain. Like, that's why, like was telling you, I'm a very private person. I don't really like to be, like, seen or out or like, it's really even, like, performing, it's hard for me to get on stage sometimes because I feel like I'm so open to, like, everybody who's in there, and but I think that can be a gift sometimes because that means people can feel me too.
You cried on stage
Yeah, I did.
when I was when I
Yeah,
watched you.
that's not uncommon for me
Yeah.
because like I said, I realized that night, I'm like, I used to I can perform that song at home, nothing comes up, but I'm like a girl came up to me after and was like, "Hey, like, that I cried during that song, like, that reminded me a lot of, like, my brother who has, like, addictions," and I'm like, sometimes I don't think it's my emotions when I'm on stage, and that's what I've realized now is that, like, when you hit something with someone, all of a sudden you're connected and that's when it will, like, come up, and I'm like, "Holy shit," like, okay. So, I've had to learn how to, like, navigate that because that can be, like, super unhealthy for me if I'm in the wrong relationships or environments
Sure.
or but I didn't know then because we live in a world that totally pretends that that doesn't exist, that whole energetic, unseen world of spirit doesn't exist, which to me I get really pissed off about because that's so colonial to me when people try to act like energy healing, herbs, astrology, all of these things are whatever woo woo, whatever you want to call them. It's like that shit's ancient. Even astrology, like my ancestors in South America, like they were astrologers and they would track the planets. And so it's like that shit makes me mad to be like, pretending it doesn't exist, especially, like, in the medical industry. Like, people don't realize, like, you gotta decolonize medicine too. You have to decolonize all of these different ways of seeing the world where the only things that we know are science, because science is
Money.
exactly. Whoever is getting paid to find whatever, they're gonna find it, you know? So it's like it's funny because people have I what I find really interesting right now in the world is that people are so disillusioned with the system. Like, they know everyone's greedy. They know everybody's like a bastard and like, you got all your your main players, like your Elon Musks and your Donald Trump and all these guys that are like the characters, right? Because that's to me, that's all politicians are. It's
Yeah.
like you get some characters and they run the circus, and then next year there's a different one. It's like whatever. But it's like there's people that are like, fuck this, they're so corrupt. But then they're going and using all their products and doing all this stuff and acting like there's no, you know what I mean? Like you're going to the doctor and you're taking all these things that they're telling you to take, and you're not putting it together that, you're
Sometimes
holding.
it's hard though.
Yes, but it's
Right.
interesting how like some people will be like, this is so wrong, but like you can't question this, and they're the same thing. And it's
Right.
like that cognitive dissonance. Sometimes I'm like, that's really
That's
interesting to me,
yeah.
you know?
Man,
Like,
I see. Okay, it's funny that you say that because I always think about like cobalt mines
yeah,
in Africa
yeah,
and how they're like 98% of cobalt is farmed by slavery.
yeah.
So it's like cobalt is in anything that's rechargeable,
Mhm.
phones. So it's like I always say that to people who are like getting mad at me for something. I'm like, well, you support slavery because you have a cell phone, buddy.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah. Well, that's like with the AI conversation right now where people are like, "Oh, do you use ChatGPT, blah, blah." Okay, sorry, Instagram uses data centers, Google uses
mm,
data centers, all of these things that you use if you're using the internet use data centers, so it's also like and AI is part of everything now. So it's like, I think I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day about, um okay, so going back to, like, fighting, something I realized now is, like, there's a lack of, like, this warrior spirit in people of, like, willing to because when I so I'm gonna talk a lot about this ceremony because there was so much
yeah,
that
yeah,
was, like, given to me, and I feel like this is something I'm supposed to share with you, but it's like, being a warrior is a path of, like, discipline and discernment and, like, protecting what is sacred on the planet. So that's like the children, the women, the community, the food, the water, the shelter, the land, all of those things when you are a warrior are under your protection. Right now, one of the things that I think is plaguing men specifically is that there is a need for them to defend something and they know that deep down, but there's this feeling of helplessness because it's almost like you don't even know where to direct your energy, like, because there's so many, like, almost threats, but you can't really see them. So there's this feeling of helplessness and fear of, like, where do we even begin? And then that energy gets, like, turned in on the community, and then you get, like, especially with alcohol and stuff like that, and then you have, like, abuse in the home and children that are, like, learning these things, and it's like, we need to, like, re-empower ourselves of, like, defending what's important, and, like, that's honestly the thing that these corporations fear the most is, like, people remembering, like, once things are polluted, you, like, can't drink that water, you can't once the trees are cut down, you're not gonna just have another old growth forest that's there, like, that's not how it works, and so it's like, we need to defend the things like the children need to be protected and loved and nurtured and like allowed to grow without, all of these things that are hurting them and so it's like but people need to be doing it for the right reasons because with men something that I saw was men need healthy pride. Like that's wired into the masculine energy. And like when I talk about male and female, like this can apply to like any person that's got like these energies in them.
yeah, yeah.
But it's like
So what's healthy pride?
healthy pride is like knowing so back when men and people used to go to war like tribally, after the fight, they would get together and they would talk about who did what. And like there was like almost points for like, oh, he went in and he touched one of the other guys and he got out without getting killed, or he would do these things, or he stole one of their horses and he brought it back. And there was different things that were like different levels of like valor and courage. And those were the men that were like, looked up to and respected because it was like you had a lot of courage. But now pride has become this unhealthy so again I'm going to talk about Conor McGregor and Habib because that's a perfect example. You have one guy who's up there and he's in his fucking fur coat and he's just saying shit and he's drinking and he's like rah, rah, rah. And then you have like Habib who's just an assassin who's just sitting there like no, No, brother. I'm going to smash his face. Maybe teach him a little respect. I mean, teach him something. And then, but it's funny because, you have this guy, he walks in the ring and he's just swaggering around and, he's this cash cow for the UFC. And then you have a guy who's like, I used to wrestle bears and like I grew up in the mountains and this is my life and I live and breathe this. I don't drink alcohol. I don't fucking touch other women. I don't fucking look at other women. And then you have, you know what I mean? And I think that's why Conor McGregor hated him so much is because his energy of just being like, this is a circus. It, it like made him realize like, I look like a piece of shit right now. And so true pride, because Khabib is not cocky, but he's very confident. He knows what he can do, but it's because he's done it. When you see, like when I was watching him and he gets on the floor, it's like a scorpion. Like it's like he's an animal, but he's so practiced and he knows himself. Where Conor McGregor, it's like that man doesn't know who he is. He gets in there, he's goes after, gets drunk, does drugs, he's embarrassing his wife. He's doing all these things to women. And that's what sickened me the most when I was reading about him last night and all of these like assault charges and things, and then they get dropped because there's not enough evidence. But it's like, he's got money. But then when you read about all these accounts from the women, it's like he was kicking me, punching me, saying all this stuff. It was like he was possessed. I'm like, oh my God. Like you can see it in his interviews when he's like on drugs or something. I could imagine that. Like that guy's so unstable. So that's exactly my point is like you have a guy who's trained in MMA and he's using that to prey on people who are weaker than him because he's a coward. And that's what cowards do. Where someone like Habib, where it's like, you have healthy pride. You save it for the ring. I couldn't imagine him even laying a finger on a woman, like even in his interviews, a woman goes to shake his hand. He won't. He'll
Yeah.
give a little bow. And that's why I've gotten so fascinated between their story because all I saw was like this man, this quiet knowing of himself and his opponents too, like he can get in their heads because he can see that like where it's like that tweet where Conor McGregor's like, all that matters is knockouts. And then Habib's like, I like to take people into the deep ocean and show them who they are and make them tap. And it's like, but because Habib has mastered himself, he's mastered his lust, he doesn't drink, he's mastered all these things. Of course, he can go in the ring and make anybody tap out or knock them out because he's mastered all of these like symbolic demons inside of himself. Because of course he probably gets tempted by things, but he's got a stronger sense of discipline. Where someone like Conor McGregor, it's like he's anything shiny, anything that's gonna whatever, he's gonna go after that. So it's like, of course he's gonna lose eventually because it's like he's not beaten his inner demons. And it's like that's what I realized is like symbolically, all of us have these like our own demons that were like assigned when we're born and they're different for everybody. Like some people might have addiction, some people might have like physical illnesses or like lose somebody or lose an arm or a leg or like and we have to learn how to like submit the demon of like what that is to us. And when we learn how to do that, we can like teach other people how to do that. And that's what protects our entire community from, like, going through addiction, going through all of these, like, things that could set you back. Because like, when someone heals them like, say someone were to have this illness and they go to the doctor and they can't, like, help them, and they don't know what's wrong with them, and they're like, "Yeah, sorry," and you might die, like and then that person learns themselves so well, and they try all these different things, and then they finally find the thing that worked. Okay, well, now if other people in the community have that problem, this person helped
Right.
them, right? So it's like, we're never taking our victories alone, but, like, when you see somebody like that tries to act like
Yeah.
it just showed me, like, that's such a unhealthy, toxic pride and this cowardice that's underneath and that's the thing, like, when you really are a strong person and you have, like, strong morals, you don't need to be saying all this shit, and, like, I know, like, people love to hear him, like, talk shit and whatever, but it's also, like I'm also like, what does that say about you as a person if, like, that's your favorite guy that's just out
Right.
there? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that says a lot too about what
Do you get with the Dagestani fighters, like Khabib, Islam, those guys? Do you know where that discipline comes from?
their religion.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
faith.
Yes.
And like, because it's so it's for me, it's like so it's something I wish I had,
Mhm.
because like that's probably the biggest struggle I've had in my life is like spirituality,
Mm.
religion, like God, creator, like trying to find that connection. But with them, it's so powerful because they have no pride. They have zero pride
Mhm.
because everything has been given to them. You
Mhm.
know, when they talk about going and fighting, they're like, I'm, God either wants me to win or he wants me to learn something. So they
Exactly.
don't actually care that much if they win or lose. It's like, I'm gonna go in there. I've trained hard. I've eaten properly. I've not sinned.
Mhm.
I've been honorable. I'm gonna go in there, and God either wants me to win
Mhm.
today or He wants me to learn something, and
Yes.
I'm happy with either. And like that mentality is so like when you talk about demons, like to be able to third party your demons, you know, so you're not battling it by yourself.
Mhm.
You have
Yes.
whoever your God is. Maybe it's the universe. Maybe it's whatever you have faith in. That is so powerful,
Yes.
and I wish I had that.
Well, the thing that I realized too is that people try to elevate spirituality that you have to be like this and you have to eat this way and you have to wear this and you have to say this language. And something I learned about like being in the quote unquote spiritual community is like that's a place lots of people go to hide and mask their fucking ugliness underneath. And there's a lot and so that was also a thing that came through in the ceremony is when you are given the task of being a leader, which I can see that you have been, like even wanting to talk, share people's stories, that means you're a leader. You have to have really good discernment about who you let in your circles because there are people who will come and prey on the fact that there is a community and they will like look at the church, like look at these things that are supposed to be these, oh, he would never do that because he's a priest. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like on paper. And and the thing is like there's so many people who are so confused right now because spirituality it's been this mystical thing that it's not accessible to you. To me, the most like intense spiritual experiences I've had has been like with the earth and like with plant medicine and like being like and there's a reason mushrooms, ayahuasca, all these things are outlawed is because you're not they don't want you to have a direct connection to your source. They don't want you to know that all of the rest of this is bullshit and that all of this, the systems we live in is complete garbage. Like it doesn't need to be this way. And we will see a day in our lifetime where all of these illusions fall down. And it's coming because there's people who see through the bullshit. And eventually, more and more, as more and more things become corrupted, more and more people are going to see. And that's why we need leaders who are like, hey, this is this and this. Because the thing is, like, there's a lot of things that on the surface look like they're good and look like they're helpful, and underneath they're really an ugly,
Right.
evil thing. And there's a lot of things that might look really like not that exciting or not that important that end up being like super important. And that's why people need humility because and you also need to be at a point where you're not chasing validation or material anything because there's so many people where it's like, "Oh, that guy, he's got a nice car and he's blah blah blah." And it's like the biggest piece of shit you've ever met. And I say that like in a way where it's like you're doing whatever, you're treating people terribly, you're hurting people. Like when I say a piece of shit, that's what I mean, where it's like you're just leaving stank everywhere you go, like legitimately. And it's like when you have this like thing in you that has integrity and has like morals because that to me is spiritual. You don't need to like go to bed every night and be like blah 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 it's me. Like you can be like there's something in me that it's like when it's unpopular, I'm still going to stand up for the truth. Like to me, truth is God. Like truth is creator because you can't hide the truth. It just is. And it permeates everything, right? And then you have some people who are really good at illusions and talking people into thinking that this thing is that thing and some people want to be lied to. Like I had to
Yeah, yeah.
realize that too. Like as a person who like like
I think most people
yes. And that's the thing. Like
people don't want to suffer,
no,
and suffering isn't bad.
but you suffer more when you lie to yourself.
Not always.
I think
Like,
I think you
ignorance is
do.
bliss.
But if you say you're like in a relationship, right? And that that person keeps saying, I'm gonna change, and they're doing something that keeps hurting you, keeps hurting you, keeps hurting you, and you're believing the lie that they're gonna change. It's like you do end up suffering more if you stay,
Yeah, yeah,
you know? And I've done that. So it's like I've learned both. And that's when I realized like the truth hurts in the moment, and then you get over it and you adapt. And like I was talking to my friend about this the other day where we're like talking about some people around us that it's like, man, I love them so much, but they just keep doing this thing. They keep doing this thing and they're not seeing how they're like contributing to their own thing. And it's really hard. And it's like, and we kind of were talking about it. It's like, yeah, you go through maybe some dark years at first when like, cause it was like for me, it was like there was years of like darkness when you're actually trying to like get into the nitty-gritty of, like, what's holding you back as a person from being your best self. You have to go into the underworld of who you are, like, everybody has that, the places that you're ashamed of and you feel insecure and you feel like, um, all of these negative emotions, like, that's where all your power is, when you've learned to integrate it back into yourself and forgive yourself and love yourself. And again, like, being that warrior is also about knowing you're worth protecting and you're worth and that you're sacred too, and that you need to protect yourself because you do have things that are valuable that you can't just be throwing away, and letting people take from you. And I realize that now too. It's like in order for us to change the world, like we have to be willing to like fight for that change, but it doesn't necessarily have to look like violence.
yeah.
It might have to be sometimes, but it can also be like learning skills, learn how to grow food, learn how to get off grid, learn or not even get off grid, but learn how to share things with your community more. Like I was thinking the other day, like everybody on my block owns a lawnmower,
Mm.
you know? And I'm like, if we had a schedule and we had like 2 lawnmowers in a shed and you just sign it out and you just write when you're gonna have the lawnmower, because how often do you use a lawnmower? You know what I mean? Everybody can have their turn.
Yeah.
And but that's the thing is like we're told everybody needs all this stuff and like but think about it. If we were like in a crisis and all you could do was access your neighborhood, you'd be fine.
Mm.
You would talk to people. This guy knows how to do this. This girl knows how to do this. This person, they do this. We have this, you have this, and you'd be fine. And it wouldn't take that long. And so I think that's the thing is like maybe we will come into times where there will be challenges and we'll have to just do it, or we can proactively do it and start to make those
We have
changes.
we have friends that we've talked about buying an acreage and just living
Yes.
together, just pooling all our money together,
Yes.
just like buying real estate or buying businesses or something, and just like because I've put a real I'll put a real strong effort into like designing my life so I don't have to live in the system,
Yeah.
you know, because I don't like how things are.
No.
And but I'm not like I'm also probably not going to change anything, you know? Um Not saying I couldn't.
I think you already are.
Yeah, maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit, but like my main purpose is to like just teach my kids how to be competent, Make them I heard a quote that said, you wanna raise your kids and prepare them for the world and how it is, not the world that you wish it was for them.
Mhm.
And this world is hard
Mhm.
and harsh. So I need to teach my boys how to live, in a world that's harsh, but also be kind
Mhm.
and humble,
And you have to
you
also
know?
teach them that things aren't just like set in stone. Like things are changeable.
Right.
And they have to think bigger than just what's in front of them
Yeah.
because the kids that are being born right now are like on another level. Like they're sensitive, they're aware, they're like already on like some evolved shit. Like my daughter, I'm like, yo, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like you're on a different thing. And sometimes it freaks me out where I'm like, oh, you're reading minds now. I was thinking
Yeah.
about something and she asked me about it and I was like, the hell? So I'm like, yes, I think yes, make your kids tough, make them uh prepare them for the world, but also like things change gradually, right? So it's like if we do a lot of work to try to change things in a positive way and we teach them that they have the power to change things too, because we do.
Mhm.
One person can change. So, like, think about like one musician or something. Like, for me, I love Mac Miller. When you think about whenever I go on one of his videos, man, this shit saved my life. Man, this I listened to this when I was going through a real hard time. It got me through that. When you think about one person, how many people probably feel that way about and that's just one guy.
Right.
So it's like your job isn't to like save everyone, but it's like put something honest out there that's like a lifeline sometimes when people cuz there's not like you said, there's not a lot of honesty. There's a lot of people who want to be lied to, but the ones who don't, there's
Yeah.
not very much truth out there to like grab onto. And so like and it doesn't have to just be music, but it's like even like you're talking about like talking to people and telling stories and like when you actually listen to any person tell their story, there's something there that's true that's like connects us, you know? And I feel like that's just that's how you change things. Like storytelling is a human need. Like it's not just a thing that we do for fun. It's like and I think that's why with the AI there's like such a push for these people in control to like get it in the music and get it in the TV. So nobody's actually telling human stories anymore because they know how powerful that is for us because you need to be able to visualize yourself as the hero, as somebody who can overcome stuff. And there needs to be hardship and all this stuff, but then we're being given all this like junk, you know, the food and the music and all this stuff. It's like they don't want us connecting to truth. And it's when you start to see that, like, when you start to see in the world how they're constantly trying to censor truth from us in different ways, not just with news, but with, like, everything. It's like when you have an artist, like, who really speaks to people, like, it that becomes, like, a threat to like, look at, like, Tupac or even, like, someone who's speaking like Martin Luther King and these people where it's like they say things and it just feels true and it gets people like, you know, like that's a leader. You don't have to be a literal person that's stopping all this stuff. Like, because the truth is honestly like enough to like stop a lot of things from happening when things that's why they censor everything. That's why, you know, they try to control these narratives and stuff. Like it's it's part of how they control our mind because mind control doesn't have to be a literal like oh my mind being controlled by like a
Yeah.
frequency, you know. It's like the stories that we're told about ourselves and our power, right? It's like you have no power to change
Yeah, yeah,
anything and
yeah.
we believe that and we internalize that. That's mind control. It's like because if every single person lived up to their full potential, it would be a different world in like a couple weeks,
Mhm.
you know. That's why that talking about that inner discipline, that inner if we all just took responsibility for ourselves and just did what needed to be done inside, then like you said, we have this overflow of like I can take care of this and I can take care of that and it doesn't bother me when people
Yeah.
try to do whatever.
I think that comes from like loving yourself because I don't think people do.
No. Oh,
When
hell
I
no.
when I talk to people or people come and ask for advice or we're just like chatting, that's like the thing I notice the most is that people don't love themselves.
Mhm. But look how much money goes into making sure we don't.
Yeah.
Like, especially women, and I know men too, but, like, the surgery and the fillers and
Right.
the this and the that, and it's, like, it's really sad because there's little girls right now, they're, like, 13 right now, like, cutting themselves up and doing all this stuff because they're being shown something that's not even real. And then, yeah, and then these young boys where it's like, "Well, I have to be this, and I can't feel anything," and it's like, well, that's not true, you know? Like, everybody that's again, that's a story that we're told that harms our people, especially the men, because it's like a human being is meant to feel. We're supposed to cry. We're wired to cry. We're wired to release stuff. If you don't let stuff out in some way, and it doesn't necessarily have to be crying, but if you're not getting stuff out, it just like festers in you and it makes you like very sick, like in more than one way. Like it can make you mentally ill, it can make you physically ill. Like cancers and all this stuff, like, a lot of men, like, they get their cancers down here that their stomach cancers and prostate and all this stuff, it comes from all of these toxins, like, getting stuck because things aren't, coming out. And
So what about for somebody like me?
well, I
I
don't,
feel like I don't release ever, but I also don't ever feel like I need to.
I was thinking that you box, and that's like a catharsis
Yeah,
of like adrenaline and energy. And I think, like I said, I do think men are wired to have those kind of uh outputs. I
mm,
think that may be why it's so hard sometimes to cry, and that's why I think so many men turn to rage instead of crying, because what I've learned too in my own life is like all the men I know that have like the most insane tempers and the rankest anger issues I've ever seen,
yeah.
there's a lot of like
It's
grief
like it's
and
like
pain.
it's like sad anger,
Yeah.
confused anger,
Yes.
depressed anger.
Yes.
Like anything just goes to anger
Mm.
because they just don't know how to
Process it.
process these emotions.
And they're also told that that's acceptable. Like as a man, it's like, ew, you can't cry. You can punch a wall though. You can do
Right.
this.
Right.
You can fight a guy. Like, and it's just an interesting thing because I used to be like that where I had a lot of rage and I was always trying to, get in people's faces back in the day when I was like
Throw
in high
hands.
school. Well, yeah, I've been quarantined at the school. They're like, we can't let you out of this room because we're afraid you're gonna break his nose. Because I was like, but it was always when someone was like picking on someone else. Like I was always like, ah, and I was like, like that. Hey, I'm Latin. That's what we do. Just kidding, but it was like that where I was so angry. I felt this like sense of like justice needed to be like served. And I was like, I'm going to serve it. Someone's gotta. Because I also hated like, it was all these like big hockey players and they're picking on these like these girls who are like gay and you can tell they're having a hard time. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, and then yeah, and I think I had a reputation back then because I was kind of a hothead. But it's because I was feeling so many things and like I didn't like feel like anybody was like listening to me or I had anywhere to put that. And then, and I used to like smoke a lot of weed. There was like a long time where I was like never sober. I would drink a lot. Oh God, the alcohol made it even like worse. It was like unhinged, unhinged material, and so like that's why I don't like drink like that. I can't do that shit because it's like I know myself and I think alcohol too, it's like opens you up way too much to all kinds of things. And like I can tell too, like I when I meet people, I can tell if they have addictions and stuff. You look at them, you can like see it in their demeanor, their eyes, their aura, like it's and so I'm like and I look at my pictures of me back then and I can see it that I'm
Mm,
like, "Whoa, that doesn't even look like me." Like there was something with me that was like not good. And like and that's why I know these things because I experienced them like firsthand, and I've seen the rage, and then like when that finally runs out though, like what's actually underneath, and it's like this unhealed like thing that just wants to be seen. Like that's why when kids get upset, they like throw a tantrum because they're overwhelmed by like what they're feeling, and then like that's kind of this default. And I've seen grown men like throw
that's how I
tantrums.
feel when I was in the trades.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are all these grown ass men throwing things, getting mad? You don't even own this business. Like, we're getting paid the same, whether that
Yes.
works or it doesn't.
Yes, and that's what so, like, all my friends, like I was saying, I grew up with, like, all these guys, and, like, when I grew into adults, they were all in the trades, my dad was in the trades my whole life, and so I always, like, joke that I felt like I'm, like, a fucking 40-year-old electrician inside or something. It's like, man, like, sometimes I'm like, "This does not match, like,
That's so
who I am
funny.
inside," and, like but, I've seen it where it's like they can because the trades are such like a male dominated field, there is like no kind of checks and balances around that kind of behavior. Like people are allowed to just like act up,
Right.
and there's nobody to be like, the fuck, and then not that that should be our job, but it's like, I feel like it becomes almost like a spectacle. Like when I've seen it, it's like you're not even really doing this because you're that upset. It's like there's part of you that wants this like attention,
Right.
because otherwise it's like, why do you? But that's the thing with the trades too. I've seen it. It's like these guys, a lot of them will start drinking and doing drugs and like, 'cause especially if you're going up somewhere and you're kind of up for like a month or 12 days or doing your shift, it's like That's all there is to do, really, and so I get it, but it's also, like, I've seen a lot of, like, people who are, like, talented people or have these things, and it just, withers away because 'cause they're not cultivating that anymore, and that's where it's like, your whole goal can't just be, like, money and, like, going and making a bunch of money and getting the truck and the fucking lift kit and the the sleds and the like, it's just, like, so, like, okay, it's a vibe, and I'm just like, "Y'all, like." No, but it's
You're
I just see it and I'm like,
yeah,
"Okay, and then what?"
yeah,
Like, and it's sad because then it's a lot of these dudes too, it's like you're kind of emotionally stunted, you're up there with all these guys who are also like that, you're not really growing.
right.
You get a lot of racists in these places, unfortunately, like, and it's just kinda sad because it's almost like this little bubble that people exist in, and it's really easy to just go work, go home, and, like, you
Yeah.
don't really go out into the wider world. There's some motherfuckers that have never left Saskatchewan, and they never plan to. That's scary to me, where it's like because something I actually noticed here is that lots of people are, like, really afraid to, like, travel and, like, go places, like, like, if you're especially, like yeah, if you're, like, raised a certain way and I'm not generalizing, like, all guys in the trades or anything, but it's like, if you're kind of these guys that it's, like, maybe a small town or whatever, right? There's the story where it's like, "Oh, you can't go over there, you can't go to Australia, you can't do this. What do you need to do that for?" Like, there's this whole thing of, like, trying to keep people in this little bubble or, like, you're getting especially if people didn't follow their own dreams and their own things they wanted to do, they're gonna make up a bunch of reasons of, like, why you can't do that and why it's too scary for you to, like, go do that, and it's like, that's something I started to realize in my own life where it's like, there was so much fear around me because people had gone through some shit, so it's like I don't know, have you seen Moana? Oh, it's like yeah, okay,
I
well, my
I
daughter
know what it
loves
is.
it,
I know what it is.
but
With the water, right?
yeah, but
And
she
don't go into the water.
yes, but that's what it's like. Her
Yeah.
her purpose and her, like, destiny was to bring she was supposed to be a leader and bring, like her island was dying, and she needed to go bring something back so then it wasn't dying anymore, but her dad was like, "No, I've been out on the sea. You can't do that, and you're gonna die," but it was like, if she didn't have the courage to go do that and, like, disobey him,
Mm,
everybody would have died because the island was like all the food was dying. They couldn't all the there was no fish anymore. So it's like and that's like symbolically in our communities when there's not fresh ideas, when there's not new things coming in, when there's not like everybody starts to kind of like everything starts to like decay almost.
mm,
And people need to be brave enough to go out and because even like have you ever heard of like the hero's journey? Like it's like a series of, like, steps that are, like, in every kind of story, like movies and books, and, like, there was a guy who, like, analyzed all these myths. It's
yeah.
it's interesting.
The hero's journey.
Yeah. It's, it's like it's like a circle kinda where it's like the hero gets it's called the call to adventure, where there's, like, something this person needs to do, right? And it's like, uh but he can refuse the call at first. There's this thing called the refusal of the call. So it's like knowing that there's something you need to do and then trying to be like, "No, I'm gonna stick to my regular life. I'm not gonna do that." And then there's, like, a series of events that always happen in the story of, like, no, like and then there's, like, mentors. You meet the mentor, and then you have to go through the underworld, and you have to retrieve something and bring it back. But the end of the hero's journey is always that he gains something, but there's a spiritual lesson in it. And when he comes back to the community, he's transformed, and now he can teach the community something new that they didn't have before. And it kind of like goes like that. And so like looking at our lives in that way too, like what you've learned, what you can bring to your community. And then if you're like, I don't really feel like I have anything, it's like, well, go get something, like that's your job. Like whatever you feel like you need to do in this life, that's where you're supposed to go. And not everybody is going to understand why you have to do that. But you can hear the call, right? And not everybody can hear it. And if you can refuse the call and just go back to your life, but there's always going to be that thing that can like hear it pulling you. And that's the thing now. I think people need to be brave enough to like, because money, all that shit, it's like, yeah, that's nice, but there's something, we're not all supposed to be the same. you know? And it's really easy, like, dress the same, look the same, talk the same, think the same, watch the same shows, you know? It's like, at what point are you an individual person with your own kind of perspective and your own thoughts and your own, like, journey, you know? But, that's the thing, like, I don't know, when you're, like, young, were you, like, a person who's, like, always kinda weird or, like, different, did you feel?
I felt like I was different, but not. I was different in the way that like I just liked everything and I liked everyone and I got along with everyone.
Okay.
Like I was like the kid who was like on the basketball team, but then I was like over here playing Pokemon,
Yeah.
and then I was over here with the goth and the punk kids listening to.
With your little wrist stick?
Yeah, like I'm listening to Cannibal Corpse, I'm listening to Marilyn Manson,
Yeah.
but then like I'm doing nerd stuff. I'm playing like
Yeah.
I was weird in that way
Okay.
where like I just didn't care what anyone thought about me.
Yeah.
I just liked what I liked and I
Mhm.
liked everyone and I could always like find the good in people.
Yes.
I could find like a connection.
Yes.
So like I thought that was weird because
Oh,
I
that's the
was
thing.
just like nobody else was like that.
I always say that. You should be able to have anybody sat down in front of you, and you should
Yeah,
be able to find middle ground with them. I don't care who the
easily.
fuck it
And
is.
I can do that so
Me
easily.
too.
Like this is what I tell people. If you meet somebody new, do two things. Give them a compliment and then find something that you have in common with them.
Yes.
That's it.
And
And then you're gonna make their day with the compliment, and like all they're gonna do is remember how you made them feel,
mhm.
which was good. They're not gonna remember what you talked about, what you say, but they're gonna remember how you made them feel, and then find a commonality somewhere, and then you're gonna be good with that person forever.
Did you see the story of that black guy who became friends with the leader of the
Yeah,
KKK? Yes, I think about that all the
I
time.
seen him on. He's on Joe Rogan a couple times,
Okay, yeah.
and he talked about like that's so wild.
But to me, like,
He
that
did it a bunch of times,
yes,
and he had people leave. He's got people to leave the KKK.
yes.
Yeah,
But the way he did it was by becoming friends with them
yeah,
and showing up and being there, and it's like, to me, that's very inspiring because nobody wants to talk to anybody right now who doesn't think exactly like them, and
hmm
that's what I've been seeing where it's like, oh, you don't think this or you don't use this language or you like this so you must be like this and like make all these assumptions and it's like, man, every individual person is so completely different
right,
and you can't treat everybody like they're just one thing
yeah,
because every single person deep down wants all the same shit that you want. They
right.
want to
They
be
do
loved,
that.
respected,
Yeah,
seen, heard, and the reason that people get into these like groups of that are like, you know, maybe promoting ideas that are harmful is because they wanna be a part of something. That's literally it.
right.
You get people who even, like, racism and all this stuff, it's like it's because a lot of these people don't know any minorities or, like, people of a different race, and it's crazy,
And they
like
just grew up in
yes.
this mentality.
Exactly, and they never thought anything of it, and it's easy to blame a group that's not you
Yeah,
for any problem that you have, and but people do that in all different ways.
mhm,
Like, any group where there's, like, a "this is us and that's
right.
you," it's very easy to start projecting stuff on each other. Like,
Yeah,
even how we're talking about men and women, where it's like there's a lot of very real pain on both sides,
definitely.
but there's a lot of projection of things too, of like, you know, because I went through my fuck men phase definitely, you know, but it's also like never fully because I always had male friends. But something that I noticed too, like when you're talking about jealousy, the older you get, I find it was hard for me to maintain my friendships with men, especially when they got into like relationships because
Yeah,
you're seen as this. And that always broke my heart a little bit too because it always made me feel reduced to just, "Oh, you're a woman," where I'm like, "Yeah, but we were bonding over, like, gross, like" you know, and we'd wrestle and, like, watch movies and, you know, it was always like a more like I always felt like I used to have, like, male friends and they'd be like, "I feel like you're my brother," and I'd be like, "I feel like you're my sister." Like, that kind of
that's
you know?
so funny. Yeah,
You know, and it was just like a
yeah,
thing because it like I said, like I grew up in this thing where I was like I was being told like women do this, girls do this, and I never felt like that. But I always felt more masculine. But then I realized like the definitions of what those were are not really the real definition of what that is. Like, why is wearing a dress considered this? And wearing, someone at some point said that, and then everybody just listens to that, or certain colors and like pink and blue. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, like, well, my two favorite colors are purple and pink.
Yeah, but like, why not? You know what I mean? Like,
But
that's
I think like man and woman is very different than masculine and feminine.
yes,
And men just happen to be more masculine more of the
sometimes.
time.
Yeah,
More often,
yeah,
you know, but they're not always,
no,
and then it's just like finding that relationship, like if you happen to be more masculine, you probably are gonna want somebody who's more feminine,
yes,
because too masculine, they're just gonna be butting heads, and one person's gonna be calmer than the other,
yeah,
right? And if both are like very feminine, like you're just gonna be falling apart together all the time,
yes.
and it's just like just because one, like, all men are not masculine.
No, and I think, like, too, it's like there's energies like
And then there's people who jump back and forth that
yes.
are both.
That's like and that's how I always felt, like, I always felt like this, like, shapeshifter
Yeah.
energy where, um and that's something I realized too is, like, we try to group people by external things, like where you work or how much money you make or what color you are or whatever, or your gender, and it's like I realized, like, you need to group people by, like, their energy types. So, like, you have people who are, um, they come up with ideas, they have these visions. You have people who are, like, builders who are like, "I like working in a team. I like having someone that has a good vision and getting behind and, like, creating it in the world, but I don't really wanna have the pressure of, like, coming up with all the ideas myself." And then you have people who are like so actually, okay, going back to fighting, I I used to read a lot about ancient civilizations and like the different roles of like in ceremony. And I was reading a lot about like tricksters and sacred clowns and people who held this position in our old cultures. Because every culture, like old cultures, had like some kind of clown or jester or something. But their role was to keep order in the group by like playing pranks essentially and showing people through exaggerated things, um, how to behave. So, like, if you think of, like, even political cartoons or something where it's like they draw everything super exaggerated so people can see the flaws in something without actually, um, having to experience it. And so these kind of tricksters, their whole thing was that they weren't really on either side. They could see everything kinda clearly, like, almost like a and lots of them were black and white stripes
Mm.
around the world, and I was thinking that it's interesting because in sports and stuff, the refs, like in hockey, it's like wearing these black and white stripes, and they're this middle person, and their whole job is to keep the rules, and so, um, I think there's some people who are like referees, and they're not meant to be on either team, and they're meant to keep the order between all these different energies that are going on and make sure things stay fair, and that is a hard person to be in this world that wants you to choose a side all the time.
Right.
And people start to get mad at you like you don't care when you try to stay
Yeah.
in the middle, not neutral. Like you can still care about stuff, but
That's
you
how I feel.
yes.
Like what you just described is how I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like that's the kind of person that you are and that's why you need to know yourself because you're going to have a different needs than somebody who, is maybe more of a team player, which we need different things happening, right? But it's like so like when I was reading about these kinds of people who would play pranks, it was like a prank was never to humiliate anybody. You would kind of play a little joke or create a situation where the person would um okay, I'll give you an example. My dad, I feel like, is a kind of one of these spirits, and I feel like I get this from him because I kind of like to mess with people sometimes too when I can tell they're in a way that they need to see how they're acting almost. So my dad worked at the mine, and I remember he was saying like, "Oh yeah, there was we never really got appreciated by our like higher ups of whatever like." Uh, so he pretended he bought a couple gift cards and he got one of the bosses to pretend to present him with these gift cards to Home Depot or whatever for this like exceptional work. And then all these guys are like, "Oh, how come he gets this? Oh, that's not fair." All this stuff. And then my dad's laughing because he's like, "Well, weren't you just saying they need to appreciate us more?" And so kind of being like, "How come if somebody does get that thing and gets the thing that you say you want, you're going to be like that?" And so then it ended up just being this joke, right? But it showed people's attitudes through this prank. And it wasn't about humiliating anybody. It was about kind of getting people to see their own behavior a little bit.
Right.
And so that's just one example of like, there's so many ways that can happen because um I think people sometimes don't see their own role in some of these
You know who
things.
I think is really good at that?
Who?
Comedians.
Well, that's their whole role. That's
That
their job.
they just see everything for what it is, and they say it so it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
Like, "This is how ridiculous this is,"
Yes.
and
Exactly.
they'll do both sides, and I like that.
And that's why they get censored so much
Right,
because they keep people in check and they're allowed to
right.
say anything. And you should be so for me, it's like you should be allowed to say anything
Yep,
because if something is the truth, you don't have to defend it so hard. Touching it
right.
isn't gonna crumble it. That's the comedian's job is to touch everything and see what crumbles and see what
Yes.
actually is there. And like it's really interesting because all comedians that are good are also storytellers and they talk to us about the human condition. Even like someone like Robin Williams, where it's like that was a very special man because it was like there was so much love in there. But then it's funny, like, and then you get a crusty motherfucker like Bill Burr or something that's
Uh,
just like, you
and
know,
I love Bill.
yes, but people see themselves in him because he's just jaded by the world. You can
Oh,
tell his
just
dad just was the
angry.
meanest fucking guy. I'm like, this man has daddy issues
Yeah,
100, but it's like, but sometimes you need that too, where it's
yeah,
like you need somebody to be like, smarten up, shut the fuck up,
yeah,
like don't be whatever. And I think, and that's where like you need that sometimes with people, and uh, I think the more you can push it, the more you actually know what you're dealing with in the world. And because for me, comedy is like a huge thing that is like a cornerstone of our civilizations always.
yeah.
And I was reading about colonizers when they came, if there was clowns in these groups, they would kill them first. That's what I was reading because they wouldn't when you have a clown, you can't come in all because they're just gonna imitate you and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
show how stupid you look. And then it's like, oh shit. Well, now these people aren't going to be afraid of us because you can't be afraid of something that you can laugh at.
right.
And that's what humor does. It like shrinks these huge things into these like process. You can process them, and like that's unfortunately, like in our culture right now, the arts and comedians, all these things aren't seen as important as they should be. Like they really keep everything together. And I think that's why they cut the funding to the
Mhm.
arts. It's strategic. If you're always starving, you can't really change stuff if you're just trying to like survive. But when I went to Europe, it was crazy because they like keep old if a poet lived in this house from the 1800s, they keep it and you can go on a tour and there's statues of all these painters and poets. And I was like, what the fuck? Like we don't have this at home. Like they don't give a shit at home about this. And I was like, that was also a thing too. Like you realize when a culture is preserved, that community just thrives. And that's why it is important to learn languages and bring languages back and bring traditional like clothing and all these things back and maintain them because it keeps the spirit of that culture alive, through the food, through the language, the music, all of that stuff. If you That's why they targeted that. That's why you weren't like people were not to speak languages or have long hair or wear their clothes because think of how much power is in that. That's all art. That's all like and so it's funny that we act like it doesn't have power when it's like, look how hard they tried to eradicate this around the world. And it's like you can't. Because like as long as one person can still speak that language, it's alive.
Right.
And as long as one person keeps those recipes or these things, And so, like, that's the thing too. You have, like, a group of people making I'm slowly getting crazier. I'm like, "This is the thing, man. There's people out there, man."
So
By the end, I have, like, one hair left. No, because it's exciting to me because I think about this show all the time, and I'm like, "I want someone to talk to about this that gets it." I'll put myself back together. I brought a comb. That was like my cousin when she had this game called Powwowopoly that she brought to the lake one time, and she was getting so stressed out. It's like Monopoly, but it was like I don't even know.
it's the power trail.
Yeah, it was, and like yeah, you know my cousin Lauren.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she's as the game went on, she kept tying like a knot in her hair every time she would get stressed out. So at the end, her hair was in all these like knots, and we were like making fun of her. I was like, "Oh my god, just ragged." No, it was funny, but yeah, that's what happens when I get excited. But yeah, no. All in all, all in all,
So,
all in all, we need art and comedy
oh man.
and warriors.
Oh, I think that is
No,
awesome.
that's good.
That's
so
good.
funny.
Okay, we're at an hour and 16 here.
Okay, what else? Because I'm like, you're gonna have to cut some of this shit, maybe.
No,
But
I don't cut
fun.
anything.
Really?
No.
Okay. Well, this is fun.
No, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I knew I was gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
I
and like you should come back on and come back on,
yeah.
come back
I'd
on,
love to.
because there's
Yeah.
we gotta talk about music too.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we gotta talk about everything, and it's awesome now that I know you and I saw how your mind works.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what I like.
Okay.
I like that.
It's doing stuff.
Yeah. You're like, what just happened?
Not sure what it is.
What just happened?
But it's doing something. No, because when you sit a lot, like when you're a person who thinks about stuff a lot.
Yeah.
You need somewhere to say it.
Yes.
Because it's like, especially when I love meeting another person that I can tell thinks about stuff a lot, because it's like, what do you think? Like, do you see this? Like, are we seeing this? You know? Because lots of people are like, I don't see it. I'm like, damn.
Oh,
Like, it's right there.
it's all no. It's like I get like my go-to move is always I laugh. So when I get like pumped or I get excited, I just laugh.
Oh, I love it.
And then when I see other people get excited, I laugh at them because I just know what they're feeling right now,
I know.
and it's awesome. And I love how much expression you have.
Yeah, I can't control it anymore.
No, and
I
you
used to
don't
try
need
to be like,
and you don't need to.
whatever. Art, just kidding. It was like that for like a day. Didn't
It's
work.
no, you're awesome.
Thank you. So I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I wanted to ask you about this ayahuasca.
Mm.
Do you do that once a year?
No, this was the second time I ever did it in my life. But they come back. Yeah. I don't know. Are we filming right now? Because I'm like, I don't know how much. No.
Yeah, we're still
Oh,
on.
okay. Well, there's places you can go and people you can see. But
Behind 7-Eleven on.
Yeah, the old Stop and Go.
No.
Back behind Stoppy, there's a place. Yeah, no, but that was something that made me realize like medicine is not what we've been told it is, and there's things that
Right.
you can heal in a very short amount of time if you're willing to like confront some scary shit in yourself, and it's not for the weak at heart. Like it's really you got to be ready for like what you're
I
gonna
heard
see.
it's intense.
Oh, it
My
is.
friend who went, she watched herself get killed,
Mm,
and then she came back to life, and then she was just crying.
interesting. Yeah, because there's like layers to that. Because I'm like, I don't believe this is our only life that we've lived. I think people can see things from other times and different lifetimes, because I do believe that we go through different lifetimes and our souls collect like information and knowledge and wisdom, and we bring them into this life, and you kind of have almost like a thread that weaves through you, that's like your spirit, your soul, and it comes back, and it not always like I don't think you have to always, but I think there's a lot of us here right now who are here for a reason, and we're supposed to be changing stuff, and we're supposed to be questioning things and
Mm,
creating new things and creating new ways of being and creating communities. And because a lot of it, it's like the funny thing is we don't have to like reinvent the wheel. It's like there was things that were already working that were they attempted to destroy. We need to go back to older ways, because
right.
people lived in harmony with nature and each
Yeah.
other for how many years. Of course, there's fights and stuff, and that's what I was gonna say is like even when you're talking about um, buying land together or something, like people have to learn how to do conflict resolution and how
Right.
to have systems in place. So when there's inevitable, like there's always going to be a different point of view or a disagreement that comes up. You have to learn how to listen and
Mhm.
you know be willing to not compromise, but like being willing to hear the other person out and find a solution together.
Yeah.
And it's hard now because we do live in like a kind of an ego.
Yeah.
So and that and, like and I have
Shut
everybody has
them
an ego.
down kind of
Yeah, or
mentality.
like, these huge falling outs over stuff because something I noticed too, back to Germany or back to Habib, where it's like lots of other countries, people just say what they mean.
Mhm.
There's no sugarcoating it, and nobody's like, "Oh," they're just like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people can take it, and I realize, like, here, people are afraid to be direct and just, like, be like, "Hey, blah, blah, blah. I didn't like this. Why did you do that?" And then you've sorted out. People like to, like, hold this, like,
Yeah.
little thing, and then it turns into resentment and never talk about it, and then there's these huge, massive, like, things that don't need to happen, and it's like it's just something that I realize, like, people need to get more because it's not polite. I don't see it as polite. I
Right.
I see it as almost like, almost disrespectful. It's like, "What, you don't think I can handle the
Yeah.
truth? Like, tell me the truth. It's better than you going and
Like
talking sh."
when you beat around the bush with something, all it does is it just like creates resentment.
Yes.
It like creates misunderstanding. It's like why didn't they know? It's like,
Yeah.
well, because you didn't tell them,
Yeah.
and then you just assume that they knew.
But I get a lot of people are raised that if they're like, there's unfortunately, like, especially in older generations where it's like you go to your dad and or your mom or whoever and you're direct, and then you get punished, for it. So people have had to learn how to almost like energetically negotiate without ever saying anything and trying to like manipulate. Isn't like you said, it's like they become this way to survive or to get their needs met, right? And so that's something I've seen a lot where I'm like, oh, you were always in trouble if you asked directly for what you wanted or you said something that was you felt was true or you called out your parent or
Mm,
like and you're punished. So it's like eventually if that starts when you're really really tiny,
right.
that's just how you think that everybody's going to respond. And that's I
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
have
yeah.
a really hard time saying my feelings, and I have a friend that we've gone through a couple of things where we've had to just be really honest with each other, and it made me realize, like, oh, not everybody's gonna, like, treat you a certain way if you're honest, and, like, I think that was kinda healing for me, but yeah,
I think like even to go deeper into that, I think people also just assume others act or I guess feel what they're feeling. So like you like most people will whatever you're internalizing, you externalize,
Mhm,
you know? So it's like somebody who would never yell, would never raise their voice unless they were mad. Then they see somebody else raising their voice all the time. They're assuming that they're mad,
mhm,
and now they're like, that person's an asshole
mhm,
because they're yelling. And I would never yell unless, so it's just like they
mhm,
put their internal stuff on other people.
mhm,
And that creates a lot of misunderstanding because some people just are loud
mhm.
and they're just going about their day and now you're just like, oh, that person's an asshole. They're angry all the time, or like being direct.
Yeah.
Some people are just direct.
Yeah,
They just don't beat around the bush. They're direct. And you would never be direct because you don't want
like a conflict or
any
something. Yeah,
conflict. You want like to be safe. You want
yeah,
to, so you would never be direct with anyone. And now this person's being direct with you.
yeah,
And now you're like, okay, they're mad at me.
yeah,
And it's like, no, they're not mad at you.
yeah.
That's just how they live their life.
Mhm,
And then now you're putting your internal stuff on everyone.
mhm.
And I think that's a big part of like the miscommunication we have with people, even in relationships,
Oh, for
in
sure.
marriages, in
Yeah,
friendships, and
it's projection,
yeah.
and it's funny because when you're somebody too that's someone who is honest a lot, and, like, I've had to reclaim that in myself because for a while, like, it got me in a lot of trouble everywhere I went, work, school, home, I was just constantly just getting in shit, so I'm like, "Well, clearly something's wrong with me.
Mm,
I'm gonna just try to, like, not be like that," and then as I got older, I was like, "Yeah, no, fuck this. I need to say what I think," and it sometimes it does cause problems, but it also can, like, bring healing because I've I've had some, like, moments where I've had my own, like, Conor McGregors come into my life, and I've had to be like,
yeah,
and I didn't have to say anything or do anything, it's just, like, I think simply existing in a different way and, like, just minding your own business sometimes, it does trigger people, and it bothers people when they especially when there's people who have a need to constantly, like, feel like they need to be paid attention to, like,
mm,
constantly, and if you're someone who's just doing your own thing and, like, it's like if you're not giving them attention,
right,
now you're like a problem and they're gonna come, like, try to, like, mess with you, and I've had to be like, "Hey, this and this and this, like, please don't, and, like, I can see this that you're doing, and I can tell no one's ever told you that before, but you need to be told this right now because it's starting to hurt you, and it's starting to, like, hurt people around you, and that's why plant medicine, I think, is so powerful, is I've heard people say it can show you the gap between, like, who you think you are and who you really are, and that's painful for people sometimes when people have perfected this persona, this mask, and there's actually someone else underneath and they don't even know it,
yes.
and that's
It's like the real you versus the ideal you.
yes.
The person you want to be or you
Yeah.
try to pretend to be, and then who you really are.
Mhm.
Because I think, like, when you think about growth, like, depending on how wide that gap is, like, in direct correlation with your ability to grow.
Yeah.
And if that gap is, like, way big and you're like, "This is who you really are, but this is who you think you are," and there's, like, this huge gap in between, you can't grow because now you're like
You already think you're there.
right. You're
Exactly.
like if you're driving to Vancouver and you think you're in Calgary,
Yeah.
but you're in Winnipeg,
Yeah.
and now you drive for an hour and you're not like,
And sometimes you need someone to tell you where you really
yes, you
are, you
need
know?
that. You need
'Cause
that.
you can have a bunch of like, again, sorry to go back to Ronda Rousey and, Nunes in that fight after in the press conference where it's like, I don't know why people around her were telling her she's a boxer. She's
Right.
not a boxer. Like, that was not nice that they did that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that was actually doing her a disservice instead of being like, "Hey, you're gonna go in there and eat
Take her
shit
down.
in front of
Yeah.
everybody," which would have been the kind thing to do, even though it might have been uncomfortable to have that conversation. Well, she's gonna find out when she goes in there and the truth you can't again, like I said, you can't hide the truth.
Yeah.
That woman slept in the gym and woke up and fought, like, every day. It's just a gap in who she thought she was and who she really was. But it's funny because in ego can also be shame and embarrassment and, feeling like you're not good enough. That's also your ego
I think
talking.
that's the majority.
Yes. So when I went into my ceremony, I was shown like, you think you're like, there's so much shame. You think you're that, but like you have so much that you need to do here and you have so much to say and you have so much that like needs to get out there. You can't just be hiding in shame your whole life. But it's hard when you're the kid that's this way, and then all the adults are always like, "No,
Mm,
be ashamed of yourself. You can't say that. You can't do that. You can't whatever." Because I was always that was always me, especially as a girl. You're not supposed to say anything. You're not supposed to have opinions. You're not supposed to stand up for yourself. You're supposed to just take it and take it and take it. And I was like, "Fuck that. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not here to just be somebody else's like trash can where they throw all their shit. Like, I'm here to live my own life." And it triggers other women, like, and it's sad because I'm like, I feel like every single woman should go do what they wanna do, and they don't need to be taking care of these grown men like babies, and they don't need to be like because I think in a relationship, we should always be taking care of each other, but if it's, like,
yeah.
one person teaching the other one, like, basic shit, like how to, you know, be a decent person or it's like, that's not your job, and, like, yeah, I just realized, like, damn, like, I have so much other stuff to do that isn't just taking care of other people, but once you hit a certain age of a woman, it's almost like that's your job now,
Yeah.
and that's
And
not fair.
and well, like I don't think it has anything to do with being fair. I think it has to do with some people are like that, and that's fine. And some
Yeah,
people aren't like that, and that's fine.
but I think some people are like that because they feel like that makes them a good person and they think that they have to. And like I love taking care of people, but I don't want to be somebody who's not allowed to have any of my own wants or needs for myself. And I think especially when you become a mom,
Yeah.
it becomes very easy to sacrifice all your time and energy for like your kids and your partner and everybody else. And then people kind of lose their identity a little bit. Like even for me in the beginning, it was like that was my whole life. I didn't go out, I didn't see anybody. I was just a mom. And you're literally like feeding babies from your own body. And at one point it's like, oh my God, who am I? Like I need my own self, you know? And I respect mothers, but I've also seen women who have given too much
Right.
and they haven't kept anything for themselves
Yeah.
and how bitter they get
Yeah.
over time. And it might not show on the surface, but it's there and it like comes out. And it's like,
And it's just like everyone's different.
mhm,
Everyone's capacity is different, right? And like, because I've met mothers who are like that's all they want to do.
mhm,
They just want a mother. They just want it like they don't like that is their purpose and that's what they believe.
mm.
And I think that is fine. And I think
Yeah,
the other way is fine too.
I just think that you should always have something that's just for you,
Mm.
especially as a woman, because there's a it's funny because like that's an interesting thing that you said because I also think um there's like what you really want and then there's like what you're like conditioned to want. And I think too if like and I love having a child and I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
being a mom and that's a huge thing that's very important to me. But I'm also like um I think you need your own time sometimes and you need to do
Definitely.
things that you like. Even if it's not something you're trying to pursue like a whole thing, it's like you need just something that's yours that you're not giving to someone else and like you're not whatever. Cause I'm like, I know as a mom, it's like if she wants my cookie, she's getting my
Yeah,
cookie.
yeah,
If she wants
yeah.
my thing, sometimes I want to eat the fucking cookie.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
yeah.
love cookies.
Get over
You
here.
know, no, try.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I mean? Is like sometimes you just need a little something.
Yes,
And like as long as
I
everyone's
totally
taking
agree.
that and having that, I think that's fine. But I think um women get praised a lot for
Mhm.
sacrifice and for giving everything away, you know? And I think sometimes it's easy to talk yourself into thinking that's what you really want and like but underneath it's like, "Oh, I also want this." And you can
Right.
have both things, like
Definitely.
but I think it's just like, yeah, just knowing what your needs are and making sure like you're protecting that for yourself too, because it's easy to lose yourself and your family and everything, but, you know, and I respect women and I respect all of the different decisions women make, like, if you
Yeah,
wanna do
yeah.
this, you wanna do that.
Me
I
too.
I just think it's about making sure that, you know, people also it's very conditioned into us to, like, even in my own family, like, seeing how much women had to give up just to like survive or do this. Like my grandma had to leave Chile and like she had to come here, start over, do these things from scratch. And it's like, I'm sure that wasn't her plan, you know, and then there's a lot of things along the way. But she also still has things that she wants to do and like outside of being a mom. But like it's if you're in survival mode, it can be really easy to just be like, I just gotta take care of me
Right.
and my kids and nothing else matters. But those little things that are for you is what can keep it like keeps you going, you know?
I think everyone should take care of themselves first because that's the only way you'll be able to have an overflow
Yeah,
to give back.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think why we have such a high rate of depression right now is because we compare to other people.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think like if what you're doing is working and you're happy, like I watched this. I can't remember. He's like this old farmer, and he was talking about how he was really depressed for a long time, but like he was really happy for a long time, and all he did was farm, take care of his family, provide, come home, eat with his family, put his kids down to bed, and he did that every day, and it was
Mhm.
like the happiest. And that was before internet.
Mm,
Once internet came in, and people started telling, he started hearing that what he's doing is wrong, and he's not a good man, and he's not a good husband, he's not a good father, and he started comparing himself to all, and then he went into like this big depression for like 10 years. It took him like a long time to come back out of it, and like love himself again.
mhm,
But it was all from just like everyone else having their opinion on who he was as a father, as a husband, as a like a family, and all you heard was how he was doing it wrong, and he wasn't a good husband, and he wasn't a good dad, and then he started comparing his life, and
mhm,
once he started doing that, he went to like a 10-year depression, started drinking. It took him a long time to get out of that. And I think that's what a lot of people do.
Well, especially with the
And
social
then other
media.
people tell you you're doing it wrong.
Mhm.
You shouldn't be doing that as a man, as a woman, as a
Mhm.
teenager, as a business owner. You can't be doing that. And it's like,
Mhm. Yeah.
what do I do then? Now we're all just lost, trying to live how everyone else tells you to live.
That's why I think you need to, like, get off a little bit on people, like, disagreeing with you and not liking what you like, I'm sorry, because of how much I've been watching these Habib, like, videos, I can't stop thinking about him right now. It's so weird, I'm so fascinated by him. I'm like, "How?" But he comes in and everyone's booing him, and he's
Yeah.
just like he's like, "I'm still grateful because all of you fans are what's making me a star," you know, and but he gets off on it a little bit.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, hate me.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'm winning. I'm winning." And that's how you have to be in your life where it's like, if I'm doing the thing I
Yes.
love, give it to
Yeah.
me. I'm winning. I'm grateful for your
Exactly.
energy. I'm because if you are doing the thing that you love or that you care about, then you win.
Mhm.
And nobody else can say, like, as soon as you start, like, again, looking externally, that's when you lose all. And look at Conor McGregor. He's a loser, even if he's winning on paper.
Oh man, you're so funny.
Man, I wanna study that. I'm like, "I've gotta make a video on these 2 guys." I'm, like, obsessed right now. It's fascinating.
So when you said you went into that ayahuasca thing, you could see people's energy.
I can always
So
see people's energy, but I could see.
so you can see everyone's energy.
Yeah.
You can see my energy.
Oh, yeah.
What's my energy?
You're just like this little bear. Like a little bear cub, and I can see your little, like, ears. And you're just like you know? But to me, like, that's how I know if somebody, like, gives me a vibe where I'm like, "Ew, he reminds me of, like, Jim Carrey as the Grinch." Like, you know, I'm
Oh
like
my God.
sometimes that's how, like, I'll see people a certain way and I just trust it.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
"He reminds me of, like, Voldemort," for some reason, I'm like, "I'm probably not gonna hang out with that guy," you know? It's
So
funny,
funny.
it's just like but it's not like I'm seeing actual I just
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
like I can just see people's, like, like, their energy, you know, of, like, how they it's weird. Like, when I work with people, like, in Reiki and stuff, it's like, when I put my hands on people, I can see parts of their life sometimes, and sometimes it's somebody I've never even met, and I'll just get information. I'll be like, "This, this, and this," and they're like, "Yeah." And
Mm,
but it's like, to me, whatever I'm being shown is something that needs to be, like, processed. So I'll, like, just tell the person, like, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing. I don't know why this is being shown," like, and then they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, because 'cause I've been kind of thinking about this or that, and it's been coming up again," and it's like, "Okay, well," and then we can, like, help clear it out. But it's yeah, so with the ayahuasca, it was like there was things that I already could do, but that I felt like that cleaned all of this stuff out of me that was kinda getting in the way of so many things that I was supposed to be doing in my life of, like and when I say supposed to be, I mean the things that would make me the happiest, the things that I knew I was being called to do that I was kind of afraid to do. It was kinda like, "Well, it's time. You went through this and this and this. You were supposed to learn these lessons. You did. Now it's time to shift your focus into this new thing," which isn't learning these I think we have different phases to our life. There's there's times for, like, learning, and then there's times for, like, applying your knowledge, you know? And I think a lot of people kind of go through these cycles together, like, when you meet somebody on your same wave, I kinda call it, where it's like there's people who are they're seeing the world in a similar way, they're trying to reach a similar goal, uh, and then there's people who come after us, and there's people who come before us that have helped pave the way for us, and then we come before other waves that are trying to add to our legacy of what we're doing, like Khabib's dad. You know?
I do now.
I sound like one person who's heard one story in my whole life, and I just have to keep, like, comparing everything to this
Everything comes
one
back
thing.
around. Like I
Yeah.
was saying.
Like I said, Conor McGregor. Just kidding.
So fun. Okay, we're
Okay.
gonna wrap this up.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there
Watch
any,
the fights if you haven't. It'll teach you everything you need to know about life.
Yeah, you don't even have to watch this podcast. It's all in the
Yeah,
fights. It's all in
go
the fights.
229, UFC 229. Make sure you watch the press conferences before or after. Watch the scene where Conor McGregor throws the trolley through the bus. This is all important information for you.
Okay, is there anything you want to say to end off?
Well, thank you for having me. This was
You're
so much
welcome.
fun, and,
This was
like, I
good.
hope anybody who listens to this isn't like, "What the fuck is going on?"
What
Again,
did I just
I feel
listen
like it
to?
makes I feel like it makes sense, just be open-minded. That's
Yeah,
and don't make assumptions about people, just meet people and really learn who they are and make friends, you know? Make friends with people, make friends with your demons. And then
that's what
submit
Habib
them,
did.
make them tap like tap machine.